And we welcome you to the 2025 Independence Football Preview Show here on Video Productions. I'm Maris Lowry with Bill O'Brien. The heavy hitter, Mr. Nick Eskins, is producing and directing, and we have Coach John Lilly. We want to let you know that this first segment is brought to you by Hart's Cabinets. Hart's Cabinets is located in MacArthur. They have quality custom design. You can dial them up at 304-252-2917. Also brought to you by Modley's Plumbing and Heating, 304-253-HELP, by Pioneer Bank, and by the world of Beckley. Well, as we mentioned, we have the head football coach of the Patriots, Coach John Lilly. And, Coach, it seems like, wow, just a year ago you were sitting down with Eric and I. Now you're sitting down with Bill and I and ready to start a new chapter in Independence football.
Well, yeah, and I'm really excited to have you guys over here. I mean, this is like nostalgia 101, like year 31, but you guys as a head coach, and I think you guys have been a part of it almost every single year that I've been here. And I'm really appreciative of this guy right here. I mean, my first year as a head coach, I was the youngest head coach in the state of West Virginia, and after church I had to go up to him. He didn't know who it was, and I talked him into covering all our games on radio. It was a part of the plan, and we took over a program that was, I think, 1-19 or 1-29. I can't remember. But it was, we ended up going to the playoffs for the first time in the history of the school. And Bill and Lynn always took care of me, and I'm always grateful. Now, I have been stuck with you, too.
That's a good way to put it, stuck with me.
More years than I want.
Yeah, I think Huey Lewis had a song like that. Glad to be stuck with you.
We got a common denominator, Notre Dame football.
Yeah.
But no, it is a great day. It's great being with you guys. And, sometimes when you get older, you appreciate things a little bit more. And I appreciate you guys coming over here. I have been looking forward to it all week.
Well, the one thing, John, I'm sure the fans of Independence have really had to appreciate you. You have really set the bar high, especially over the last 4 years. You got a state championship, you've got a runner-up, you've got deep playoff runs, and I think the fan base and everybody else is expecting the same thing of the 2025 version of Independence.
Well, I'd rather have high expectations than no expectations, and that's something that we've been building for quite a few years now. And, our wrestling program's got quite a few state championships, so we're trying to catch up to them. And, it's just a great sports school all the way around. And our community supports all our sports. You guys have been over here. We can have tiddlywink contest, and there'll be 2,000 people show up. And, it's just a great environment, great culture. We got great administration who supports athletics. And, it's just a fun place to be lately.
John, you even said it, culture. It's Cole Camp proud. That's the moniker here now.
Yeah, it is. It's really kind of old school. Sometimes when I drive through the bridge down there, I'm like, we're going back about 15 years, but it's a good 15 years. We can have pep rallies, and our kids really still have fun with it, and our band does a great job, and everybody's really supportive of each other. There's really no animosity that I know of. Everybody if you come to our games, same kids are supporting each other, whether it's softball or, baseball, whatever. It is an outstanding culture. I don't think a lot of people can appreciate it, but when they come over here, whether they like us or they don't like us, I think they would all say they got pretty good culture over here.
And, Coach, as we get ready to start fall camp, I'm sure you're relieved to know that it's finally the classifications have been worked out. I know that was a big issue going into last year. I didn't know who was in what class and went through all that rigmarole, and then playoff same way. So I'm sure that you and all the head coaches I'm glad that you look, and that's in your rear view mirror, for better or for worse, at least it's behind you.
Yeah, I am. And I don't even want to bring it back up. It was very, very stressful for every athletic director, every principal. There was just a whole lot of nonsense that didn't need to happen that happened. And fortunately, at least for 2 years, we can get rid of it, and we can concentrate on sports and kids and not politics.
Well, go ahead, Bill.
I'm just going to say, for those who don't know, John Lilly is not only the head football coach here at Independence, but he's also the athletic director. So we'll talk about your schedule here in a little bit, too.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're going to talk about the kids. You talked about the kids, and, when people come to the game, Independence, home or on the road, or where they're watching on video productions, or however they consume Independence football, talk about some of the players that fans are going to see and really like in this 2025 football season.
Well, God's blessed us with a pretty good bunch. I think we got nine back on offense, so that's a good start. I think when you got any time that you got your quarterback, every coach in the world, you know this, college, pro, whatever. If you got your quarterback back, that's a little bit of a head start. And we got Brock Green back, and he broke all the school records as a freshman throwing the ball. And we got pretty high expectation for Brock, and he's got a good supporting cast around him. And of course, you got another first-team All-State tailback. So both the guys in our backfield are first-team All-Staters. You got Silas Nelson. Silas has probably worked harder than anybody, I would say, in the weight room. He's packed on about 20 pounds. His speed got faster. It's a good job from our strength and conditioning staff on how well they did in the off season, but it's mostly his work ethic. He's up to about 215 now. He'll probably play at 207, 208, and he's about 6'1". So there's two guys, in the backfield. And then he's got both his wide receivers back. Both our outside receivers will be 3-year starters in Christian Linksweiler and Caden Bradbury. So both those guys on the outside back, and even our slot receivers back, and Cole Laxton. So the whole skill set started last year. We got a phenomenal bunch of freshmen who come up that, as soon as they get the lay of the land and, get acclimated to playing against bigger kids, very high expectations for them. They're probably more athletic than the guys that we have starting. They just got to mature into that. And, of course, they haven't lost a game in 2.5 years. So, they know how to win. They know the work ethic. So as far as the skill position, it's pretty exciting.
And Brock Green is considered one of the 3 or 4 top quarterbacks in the state.
Yeah, he is, and rightfully so. I mean, he looks the part. I mean, when you walk on the field and you see him, he'll stand out. He's we just got back from Elon, and they measured him at a little over 6'4", 221. He's got a great arm. He's got a college arm for sure, and it's a good building block. But the biggest thing is, he's smart. He's just really smart, and sometimes he's competitive to a fault, and we working on some of that. But if you gotta have a guy to go into war with, I'm gonna go with Brock.
So, excuse me, I was going to say this. I think it was the Mingo Central game last year that Eric and I did, and I think this may be one of the single best plays we saw all year when he hit Silas Nelson. It was about a 60-yard touchdown pass, and he hit it, and then he threw it a beautiful pass, and it's like dropping it right in the bucket as Silas Nelson ran under it for a touchdown. I believe it was the Mingo Central game. I have to go back. We've done so many of your games; they all run together, but I do believe it was the Mingo Central game.
It was a pretty unbelievable pass for a freshman. And literally, he can throw 70. I mean, if you can stand him on a 30, he'll put it on the end zone. He's got that kind of arm. But, that's the beauty of Silas. I mean, Silas is just an all-around good athlete. He even thinks he's a good golfer. But,
he even thinks he is, right?
Yeah. I mean, we go out and we run them till they puke, and then he's out on the links playing golf an hour later. But, he's that kind of kid. So, he's got good folks around him too, so that helps a whole lot. But, the emphasis in the offseason was, rebuilding that line and getting it back to where we were in 21-22. So, and I feel comfortable there that we're getting there. So, but yeah, he's a special talent.
So, Coach, the offense is set. Tell us about the defense.
Well, defensively, we got, you got 3 All-Staters on your front 6. So, you got Isaiah Conley as our edge rusher. He had a really good year. He had a great playoffs. He had 13 sacks in the playoffs. And then you got Riddle on the other side, Landon Riddle. He was All-Stater. And then the quarterback of the defense, we have he's been a Mike Backer now for 3 years, in Landon Phelan. So, we got high expectation from our linebacking core. And then you got Alex Blankenship, who his sophomore year, he was first-team All-State on the defensive line. So, we got some pieces there that we can build around. We got some other kids that will rotate in there. We've got Isaac Redden playing nose guard for us, and Isaac's 6'5", about 315. So that'll take care of our problem of being too small. Last year we were just too small. We got pushed around. And it's just the way it was. Kids fought hard, but, it's hard to play a schedule, especially a playoff schedule, a AAA schedule, when you weigh 220, 219, 215. So, this year that won't be a problem. Carson Jones, we'll look at him at the other tackle. Carson's, I think, 6'1", about 330. And then we're just blessed with big kids who worked really hard, so really pleased with that.
How many kids have come out?
We've got about 50 kids out. Really pleased with the turnout. For a AA school, I think 50 is pretty good.
Absolutely.
Okay. I've always kind of had, in AAA, I always felt like it had to be 15, 15, 15, 15. And AA, I've always felt like 10, 10, 10.
10,
so,
right.
Yeah, so if you can hang in those numbers, I think you can build with that.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll dive more into the 2025 Independence football team as you're watching the Independence football preview here on Video Productions.
Access Health began as a small clinic with a simple yet powerful purpose: to care for our neighbors right here at home. From the very beginning, it was about people showing up for each other, building trust, and staying connected. Today, Access Health is serving thousands across southern West Virginia. But what makes us different isn't just the care we provide, it's who provides it. Our team was born here, trained here, and lives here. This is what community looks like. This is Access Health, by the community, for the community, always.
Before you hit the Hatfield-McCoy trails, fuel up the way West Virginians do, at Little General Stores. We're proud to be part of your ride. Rooted in West Virginia and built for the back roads. Little General Stores. Fuel your adventure the West Virginia way.
He's a Greenbrier buyer. She's a Greenbrier buyer. They're Greenbrier buyers. And we want to make you a Greenbrier buyer too. At Greenbrier Automotive, we'll do whatever we can to make your car buying experience the best it can be. From providing outstanding service to offering a huge selection to choose from, all with the best deals possible. Visit one of our 7 area dealerships soon or shop over 800 vehicles on greenbrierautomotive.com.
Hey, my name's Paige, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the crispiness of the breading and the tenderness of the filet. It's tasty, it's warm, it's total satisfaction.
Hi, this is Tanya, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is that warm bun, the perfectly seasoned chicken, and that pickle. Woo! I love it. There's a taste of my childhood in every bite.
And we welcome you back in for our second segment here on Video Productions of the 2025 Independence Football Preview Show. This second segment is being brought to you by Massey Power Sports. Power your adventure at Massey's. Also by Edward Jones, Heather Cantley, your financial advisor. She's my financial advisor. She can be yours too, and you can plan your future with Heather Cantley. Also, Leisure Lanes, Johnstown Road in Beckley, where they have futuristic bowling every Friday and Saturday night. And by Greenbrier Ford in Beckley, the Ford F-150, the best-selling truck over the last 50 years. Well, Coach, second segment, we talked about some of the personnel, and you touched a little bit on some of your schedule, so we want to dive into the schedule. And, of course, right off the bat, you take on Herbert Hoover. It's a Thursday game. It's kind of a set-alone game because it's only one of maybe a couple games that night. You can have a lot of people with eyeballs here at Independence at Coal City watching that game, and Video Productions will be broadcasting that game and looking forward to that opening game, maybe a little revenge time, because I know in that long rain delay, lightning delay last year that seemed like the game would never end. I think it started on Thursday, ended on Friday, or at least by the time you got home it was on Friday. I'm sure the kids that played in that game are ready to get a little revenge back.
Well, I'm not sure about the revenge, but I think they do want to I think they feel disappointed because, we go into the fourth quarter and it's uncharacteristic for us with a 2-touchdown lead, and then we lose by 2. And, it was I felt like we were out of shape a little bit, and that was my fault. It won't happen this year, I can guarantee you that. But, I think I don't have to say it. I think they knew it. No, I mean, Herbert Hoover went to the state championship in AAA last year, so they was a good football team. And, they beat Princeton pretty soundly down there before they went to the state championship. So, and they got almost everybody back except the one guy that made them click.
Quarterback.
Yeah, he was a stud, and I'm glad he graduated.
I think he went to Northern Illinois, I think so.
I think Dane had seniority on me. I got to talk to Joey about his eligibility. But, of course, they could say the same thing about Atticus. Atticus looked like he's 52 when he was but Dane was a great ball player, and he just, that's what great ball players do, Maris. They step up when the time came, and he lit us up in the fourth quarter, and that gives us a little bit of fuel early in the year, in the summer, to make sure that we're in shape, and then we do play good football team. But when you play good football teams, you don't have any room for error. The previous 4 years, we kind of opened up a little bit light as far as who we were playing. And sometimes that happens. But, last year when you open up with and turn around and go to another playoff team, with Oak Hill, and then travel 5 hours and have another 2-hour rain delay and play Brooks. So, it was a rough start for us. We came out of it 2-2, so I was pleased with that part. But I think we want better than 2-2.
And one thing's a little different this year, and we'll get through the whole schedule, but you've got 3 teams from the state of Ohio, and that's included in Game 2 and Game 3, where you're going to play Martins Ferry, Ohio here, and then you have to go to Warren Local, Ohio. So talk about those teams and actually how that came about, and actually where is Warren Local, Ohio?
Well, Warren Local, it has some local flavor. They've come down here and played in some jamborees when I was at Shady. They come down here. They played Woodrow and they played us in a jamboree years ago. I think it was like 1993. They're just right outside Parkersburg. They got an unbelievable facility. I mean, they got a Brook facility. It's a great place to play. It'll be really fun for our kids to play in an atmosphere like that. And but no, we were really at the end of March, and we only had 7 games, and it didn't look like we were going to pick up anybody. We were into the DC teams, and we were really heading that route. But probably about April 1st, April 2nd, we decided the kids really wanted 10 games. We haven't had 10 games here since 2019. We haven't played 5 home games here since 2019. So we felt like we'll just play whoever. It don't matter who we play. We'll just play whoever we can get that's close to the same size school we are, and let the kids have fun, because it's really hard, guys, to ask players to put in the amount of work that we demand of them and only play 8 games or 7 games or 9 games for. I mean, could you imagine what Atticus's and Judah's records really would be if they got to play one more game?
And not only that, a trickle-down effect, because the less varsity games you play, the less JV games, the less chance for development of young players.
You are correct. And because, when you play these games that are 5 hours away, you're not going to play a JV game on Monday. So we've been scattering, trying to play JV games. But what it's forced us to do in JV is play all schools almost twice our size, so we can get the JV games in. And I know what everybody's going to say, that makes you better to do that, but also get you beat up. And, when you're in the 9th grade and you're playing you're playing Hurricane, who was the number 2 4A school in the state, like we did year before last, that's a tough ask for your kids. Fortunately, we had them beat going in like 3 minutes left in the game, so our kids played hard. But, it's changed our attitude, a little bit on how we do some things. And, definitely different structure this year, navigating that schedule. We really tried to find one more Ohio school, because that way, if we don't make the playoffs in West Virginia, we get an automatic qualifier in Ohio. So there was some thought process.
Yeah, there you go.
So we can and maybe, since the Coalfield Conference fell apart, maybe we got a shot at the OVAC championship.
There you go.
I don't know.
Well, after you play those first 3 games, your 4th one, a very difficult game when you go on the road to Scott. And I remember Eric and I did the Scott game here last year, and if you correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys got off to a big lead, and they came back, and then y'all held them off at the end, and that turned out to be a very entertaining game. It didn't look that way in the first half, but like I said, I think it showed mature the way your team handled that after giving. I don't think you gave up the lead, but I know they got close to your heels, and you held them off at the end.
Probably didn't want to use the word entertaining.
Well, for us broadcasters, it was entertaining.
It made the ticker hard a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that's another team that's played 3 straight years in quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I think the year before they were 10-0 and got upset in the playoffs by Weir. The year before that they were 9-1 and got beat by, I want to say, by Frankfurt. And we knew when we picked them up, it was going to be a dogfight. We knew it. They had about 4 kids that were, top 6, top 7, AAA type, AA type kids in the state. All 4 of them were playing college ball. They had some dudes. And this year they'll be good. A lot of people are counting them out, but I still think they're a top 10 AA team when the smoke clears. They'll be in the playoffs, and they'll make some noise this year. So it's going to be pretty good. Martins Ferry's the 4th winningest AA program in the history of Ohio, so that they're coming here. So I think you look at it a different way. I kind of look at it like it's exciting to play and see how we do against teams from other states. It's the next step for our program. if we can't find games next year, we go to Florida. So
do what you have to do. Now, you close out the first half of your season against Bluefield. Obviously, that's where you're from. You got a lot of, I'm sure, fond memories. Bluefield, you know that coaching staff well. You guys didn't able to get the game in last year. It was terrible. We were going to play. I remember Video Production was going to call the game, and Friday they had a water issue, and I mean, we're going to play on Saturday. And I remember you didn't even get me out of bed. I was watching cartoons, and you called me at 7:30 in the morning and said, because we're going to play, I think, at 1 o'clock, and we weren't able to get the game in. And I know I'm friends with a lot of the Bluefield staff over there, and they hated that they couldn't get the game in. But good, they're going to come back here to Independence, and you guys are going to play that this year.
Yeah, we just restructured the contract. They'll come up here, and then we'll go back down there. It's going to be the same thing it was originally going to be, and we got a good working relationship with Bluefield in all sports. They've turned out to be a kind of not a rival, but it's kind of an important game on the schedule for every sport. So they've kind of turned into a very positive thing. I think we got a good working relationship in all sports with Bluefield, and we all know Bluefield's tradition in all sports. So I've always felt like if you can compete against Bluefield, you got a shot. You got a shot at something, and I still believe that. I think Freddie and that staff will have. I know they got a lot of speed, and they got one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the state too. So it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, and I noticed you have 5 games, then you have your bye week, and then you have 5 more games. I'm sure that was by design, right?
No, it wasn't by design, but it worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
I wish we could design our schedule, but the biggest thing about that schedule is, you're at the mercy of the other schools. And when they know you don't have games,
right,
you lose your negotiation powers there.
Then you start the first half, or the first game of the second half, rather, and you have West Side here at Independence.
That's going to be a big game for us. It's going to be community night. It's going to be homecoming. It's also going to be celebration for the 50th anniversary of the school. So, we're going to try to get all the old players as many old players that played on the first couple of teams get here, and we're going to try to have a celebration and celebrate the 50th anniversary of the school. We got some different kind of uniforms we're going to wear, and the cheerleaders. So we got a big to-do going for that game.
And then you're going to play your third Ohio school, and I can see if I can read my own writing. Is that Barnesville, Ohio?
Barnesville, Ohio. They've only lost 1 regular season game in 3 years, so. They play GW the week before they play us. So that's another huge challenge for us. That's going to be a big one. And playing them and Princeton back to back, that's going to be a really great challenge for us. I mean, we're up to it. We're excited about it, but that's going to be a tough stretch.
Are these home and home deals with Ohio schools?
No, we play at Princeton. It's our turn to play down there, and then we're meeting Barnesville and Marietta College. So we're going to play at the college or Marietta University, and wow, they got a nice facility too. So it's a good experience for our kids. I mean, you get to play in some facilities that are way better than our facility, or some new places that you never get to see, and sometimes that's exciting and that's fun. Like last year, I thought it was a huge challenge for us to drive and go to Brook. We're not used to that, and when we went to Brook and they got an aquatic center up there,
right,
bigger than our campus.
Yeah.
Our kids were, it was a good experience for our kids.
And, Coach, when you play Princeton, that'll be a game where the 2 quarterbacks, your quarterback and their quarterback, you won't get very many games throughout the whole state of West Virginia, any class where you have the level of play between both starting quarterbacks in one game like you'll have that night when you guys go to Princeton.
Yeah, it should be exciting. It's same with Bluefield with Max, I think it'd be exciting for Southern West Virginia with the amount of good quarterbacks that we have down here. And this year, Princeton, they're loaded. They're in that window of opportunity. Sometimes you get a team and you got your window, and then if that window, you don't get it in that window, it's going to be a while before you get another one. But they're in that window of opportunity. I think it'll be fun going down there and playing there. They got some great skill people. On their roster. We've seen them in camps, and we've been around them, and they're loaded. They're absolutely loaded.
Yeah, and they're down from the big class into 3A, and also that gives them, they could compete at the 4A, but obviously they have a better chance that they're competing in AAA.
Well, I mean, I think they got a legitimate shot at winning AAA state championship. Bridgeport lost 19 players, so this is their, like I said, this is their window of opportunity.
And then you finish up at home, the home portion of your schedule on Halloween against Nicholas County. And I know you've gotten the better of Nicholas County, but Nicholas County's always tough, and it's always well-coached team, and you know you're going to be in for a battle.
They are. They're, the one thing about Nicholas County is they don't make a lot of mistakes, and they generally never beat themselves. So you got to be on your A game whenever you play them. And I think Gene retired up there, so it'll be interesting to see how the new coach takes over the reins of the program. But they got a really good running back. They got some kids back on the offensive line where they're generally really strong year in, year out on the offensive defensive line.
I know you'll remember the game. Eric and I did a game up there at Summersville when you played Nicholas County, and it poured to rain. And I don't know, it was 3 years ago. Like I said, all these games run together, but I'll never forget that. We were in the high portion of the press box, and it poured the rain that night. I'm sure you remember that.
Oh yeah. You don't forget that.
You don't forget those rain.
John doesn't. He remembers every game, every play. I'm telling you.
I tell you, the older you get, you don't forget them cold games.
Right.
But as far as the schedule is concerned, we're banking on strength of schedule. They changed some rules 2 years ago where you get strength of schedule points, and you get more points. Like last year, we lost 3 games, regular season games, but we lost to quarterfinal AAA team. We lost to a team that went to semifinals in AAA. And we lost to the team that went to the state championship in AAA. So you pick up a lot of points. You almost pick up as many points losing to them as you would if you would beat them.
Right.
Beat a smaller class team. And I just think if you play down, you stay down. So it's a challenging schedule for us. I'm really anxious to see how our kids handle it.
And then, of course, you finish up at Summers County, and I think most coaches, they feel they're going to make the playoffs. They like to play that last play week, the first week in November, because the playoffs start the next week, and you really get to stay in routine. Is that how you feel about that as well?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's the first time that's happened for us since probably 2020. That it's failed that way. And I thought last year really hurt us a little bit, but it was equal footing because everybody had to do it. But we had an open date. Then they canceled the season for 1 week.
The first 2 weeks, was it, Bill? Was it 1 week or 2 weeks, right?
It was 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks. Because, Bill, you did the playoff game
right.
against James Monroe. It was on a Sunday.
Yeah. And we got a massive snowstorm.
Yes.
And we couldn't get the field cleaned up. And so we played on Sunday. But, I mean, we literally went almost 3 weeks without playing.
Right.
And then, you got your kids that play basketball and wrestling itching to get going too. And it really just puts your pressure on, when you're playing a quarterfinal on the week that you normally play a semifinal. So in a lot of ways, the seniors here have played a whole year longer than everybody else, because they played so many playoff games. So they played 10 playoff games in their 3 years here.
Yes.
So they played one more year than and that's invaluable experience. When you come back and you say, well, we got to open up with Hoover, all right, but it was not even 8 months from playing in a semifinal game. So
right.
It's a unique situation.
And, of course, you start with your preseason scrimmages. You'll have 2 of them. On the 15th, you'll play Chapmanville. That's going to be here at Independence. And then on the 22nd, you'll be at Midland Trail, correct?
Yep, at Midland Trail, the old Patriot Bowl.
Well, we're going to take a break, come back, and wrap this up. You're watching the 2025 Independence Football Preview Show here on Video Productions.
Before you hit the Hatfield-McCoy trails, fuel up the way West Virginians do, a Little General Stores. We're proud to be part of your ride. Rooted in West Virginia and built for the back roads. Little General Stores. Fuel your adventure the West Virginia way.
We gave a future driver a first look and asked what he thinks makes a good truck. These trucks aren't just for today's drivers, they're for future ones too.
There's a compartment here, great leather seats, a bunch of charging ports. Has everything pretty much.
Now it's your turn.
Since I'm too young to do business in the front, I have to do party in the back.
Come to Mid-State Ford and drive off in a new truck, cool enough to earn backseat approval. Mid-State Ford, home of the Big John deals.
There's a place where innovation becomes transformation, where you'll find that education is not just about learning, but about being excited to learn. A place to feel at home. Pursue dreams and prepare for careers. Build lifelong friendships. And a place where you'll be encouraged and mentored along your journey. Discover your future. Get ready to soar. The University of Charleston.
So you're ready to get started on that home remodel? Then America's #1 exterior remodeler is here to help. For over 19 years, Window World of Beckley has helped homeowners in our area take care of their greatest investment. We make it easy to remodel your home with special financing options and convenient monthly payments. Because we are locally owned and operated, you can expect the best in customer service. We're excited to see what you have in mind. We look forward to helping you create the home of your dreams.
Welcome back into the Independence Football Preview Show with Bill O'Brien. I'm Maris Lowry, the heavy hitter, Mr. Nick Eskins, producing and directing. Of course, we're here with the head football coach of the Patriots, John Lilly. This final segment is brought to you by New River Community and Technical College. You can save money and you can earn credits that will follow you anywhere. And also brought to you by ServPro. Steve Kelly, your ServPro dealer here in Beckley and in Raleigh County, 304-253-6633. When you deal with ServPro, they make it look like it never happened. All right, Coach, down in our final segment, Bill, I think you've got maybe a couple of questions you want to ask Coach Lilly.
Well, I do. And, John and I go back a long ways. As you mentioned, when you started at Shady Spring, we decided to work with you and broadcast all your games on radio. And I'll tell this story, and I've told it several times before. You and I are walking out of church one snowy January, and I thought I was being clever, and I said, so, Coach, how many days until the start of football season? And you said 218, and you meant it because nobody works harder than you do, and you know what's coming on. So you are so dedicated to this sport. How did you learn to be so dedicated in this sport? Let's talk about your coaching tree.
Well, my background, of course, is I've been blessed. God's blessed me to be with some, as a young coach, to be around some great players and some great tradition. And I think when you're around a system that works, you want to emulate it, you want to copy it, and of course, times change, and you got to bend with that. But being around the Bluefield program, Coach Gaynor, and then I didn't play for Coach Gaynor, but I had family played for Coach Gaynor, and then under Coach Shamar, and how organized that whole thing was, and Tom Farrell, and Tom was his right-hand man, and Tom, when we won the state championship, Coach Farrell was almost first one called me. You might be in your 60s, but your coach is always your coach, right? And that tradition, and I was on Freddie's first staff when he took over as head coach.
Simon, yeah.
So there's a heavy influence of Bluefield. If you come to our practices, like I would say if somebody that's in their 30s, 40s, and 50s would come to our practice, they would see a very similar type thing on how we run the program. And then probably the biggest influence would be my college coaches, like Coach Colabro. Coach was, and his wife was my fifth grade teacher as well. And Coach was always, he was probably harder on me than everybody else. At times I was his whipping boy, I'm sure. But I probably gave him enough reason to be his whipping boy. But he taught me, a lot of things, and I'm a slow learner. Coach's main thing was speed. You win with speed, and we changed our program here in 2019 to a speed-based program, which is totally different than the way we've been doing things, and it's been so good to us. We spend 50% of our time on speed training and quickness and those type things, which was, a lot of people doing it now, but we thought we was a little bit ahead of our time. And that was some of the comments, that Coach Colabro, he taught me how to recruit, how to recruit kids in college and what to look for.
This is at Concord, yeah.
Right, yeah. Marvin Williams defensively, when I played, we had the #1 defense in the country in the early 80s. But as an athletic director, Coach Penner, he's Coach is still. If I have a problem or a question, I still can call Coach. He turned 82 a couple of days ago, and just on how you organize a program, how you budget, how you do things, how you want to have this go to this sport and this go to this sport, and priorities and Title IX and all these type things. So I've got a heavy. I've been blessed with think about it. Coach Shamar. He's in the Hall of Fame. Coach Colabro's in the Hall of Fame. And then you got your influences as you've gotten older. Your influences. I was very, very fortunate, or very, very smart, to hang around older coaches like Roger Jefferson and those guys when he was at Capitol, and lot of, just so many coaches and coach against so many. I mean, this is year 31 as a head, and I've been trying to write down all the great coaches and legendary coaches that I've butted heads with, and Glenn McNew, those type guys, and they've all influenced me. So, I've been blessed.
Is there a book?
Well, I did write a book. It'll be coming out hopefully in December, but we'll worry about that later.
Oh, okay. Now, speaking of coaches, we got to talk about your assistant coaches because you're the voice, you're the face of Independence. But there are so many other people who make good things happen.
Well, they do. I got Max, who he coached for
your
Dave.
son.
Yeah, he was with he coached at Concord for 6 years. He was Dave Walker's defensive coordinator. And when Dave went back to Martinsburg, I had to pull a coup because Dave was trying to take him up there. But, I had to pull a coup and get him to come over here. And so he's really progressed to be a great coach. Somebody's going to get a good head coach, and somebody's stupid if they don't hire him because he'll turn somebody's program around. And then of course you got Coach Grog, and I got Coach Grog here because we needed a culture change in our, not necessarily in some things, but on how we approach. How do you approach a game? How do you approach a season? How do you what's the mindset? When I came here, I was the 5th coach in like 7-8 years. So that first team that we had when they graduated, they had a different coach for all 4 years they were there.
Not a lot of stability.
Yeah, and different set of rules every year, different this, different that, and so we had to rally it and wrap it around, and this is the Patriot way, this is the process, and this is how we do things, and they bought in hook, line, and sinker. Our kids are great, but. Those are some influences. And of course, we got Scotty Cuthbert. Scott's been, coach of the year in baseball. He brings a lot of wealth and knowledge to the game. And, a couple of young coaches, Coach Creed, who played for me, and he played at Alderston Broadus, and Aaron Tolliver, he's a young coach and a young and upcoming coach. And Bubby Steele, he works with our wrestlers, and he does a great job for us on the defensive line. And, we've got Mark Cuthbert, who's the head basketball coach, and that's where a little bit of that culture comes from that I was talking about. It's still kind of old school, like Bill. When I got hired in my first head coaching job, and this was in the 80s, beginning of Coach 90, you didn't get hired to be the head football coach. You got hired to be a coach.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you coached, and you know what I'm talking about because in the old days at Woodrow, you had Coach Parham was the baseball coach.
That's right.
And this coach was the basketball coach, and you didn't have to worry about sharing players and all this other stuff because they were all together all the time, and that's the way it used to be. Now you got a lot of specialization, but like my first year as a coach, I was the head football coach, but I had no choice to be the head track coach. The principal didn't give me, you want to be the coach here? Yeah, well then you're the track coach. And me and Kevin were talking about that. Ms. Litt, you're going to hire my wife as a teacher? Well, she's the cheer coach. Did you want to be the cheer coach? Not this year, but if you want to coach here or teach here, you're the cheer coach.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it used to work. And I would have to drive the bus for the cheerleaders.
There you go.
So that's the way things used to be in the old days. But a lot of influence there from those guys.
Well, Coach, as we wrap it up, and I always say this to you every time we've done this, I think our 3rd or 4th year doing this, for Independence to get back to the postseason and to get where you want to go, the Patriots have to do what this season?
I think we have to be we got to have a championship mindset and take it week by week by week, And in the COVID area, I call them the COVID kids, it's very hard to keep them focused from 10 minutes, much less game to game. So if we sit there and we try to look at the big picture, you're going to waste your time. So we got to stay focused in on what we do each week. Don't worry about what the other teams are doing. Don't worry about what the records of the other team is. You worry about Independence Patriots on Friday night. And that's the only thing. And we've talked about this. We've talked a lot about this with our team all summer is don't worry what the other guys do. We don't care what the other guys do. We just care about what we do. And this is how we do it. And we feel like, with 4 semifinals and one more quarterfinal on top of that one and then, 2 state championships, we feel like our process works. So focus in on what your job is. Do your job. Don't worry about what the schools on the other side of the county doing. It don't matter. That don't affect us. what we got to do is we got to stay focused in on what we do and make no mistakes and know our opponent better than they know themselves. When we go out on a football field, I want my Mike linebacker, every time he comes out of huddle, they're running this play, this play, this play. They're running this pass, this pass, this pass. And if you do that, you can be super, super successful regardless of what your talent is. And then the rest of your answer to your question is, we got to build a little bit of depth and get that talented young ninth grader some reps early in the year, so then when we get to the end of the year, they can step in and we don't miss a beat. But the biggest thing for us this year is focus on us, and I guess I'll share it. Some people think we're being hunted. No, we're hunt. We want to be the hunters. We're going to go into the game. We want to hunt. We want to hunt Herbert Hoover. We want to hunt those teams from Ohio. They're not going to hunt us. We're going to hunt them. And you do that by being in shape, working hard in practice, staying focused in, leave the parties for some other time. You got the rest of your life to do that crap. What you do here is you focus in starting Monday, at 7:45 on the field. You're focused in on what we do, not what a team in Ohio does, not what some team in Maryland does. You focus on what we do.
Well, that's well said. And, Coach, we wish you the best of luck this season. Look forward on the first game of the year. It's a Thursday night against Herbert Hoover. Video Productions will have that game. And Eric and I are super excited about having the opportunity to call that game. And, like I said, we wish you all the best of luck in a great year in 2025.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming. I really do. Hey. Great having you guys back. I mean, this is old times.
Yeah.
And, like I said, is it 30? Started in 90, right?
Yeah,
So
36 years.
You and I worked 13 years together at Woodrow,
Yeah, 13 at Woodrow.
You and I would sit down every Thursday and learned a lot from you, my friend.
Well, what a lot of people don't know, we didn't even talk football half the time.
That's right. That's right.
We sat in there, and next thing you know, both, Lynn and Linda's calling us, where y'all at? It's 8:30. We start this thing at 5 o'clock, and we're in there talking about everything but football.
Yep.
But, those are the times you always remember.
We got to wrap this up. We appreciate all of our sponsors. Also, we want to thank Giovanni's Pizza. They're located at Leicester Square in Glen Daniel. You might not be Italian going in, but you'll be Italian coming out. Mamma mia. So we appreciate everybody watching and on Video Productions, and we wish the best of luck to Independence in 2025.
Access Health began as a small clinic with a simple yet powerful purpose: to care for our neighbors right here at home. From the very beginning, it was about people showing up for each other, building trust, and staying connected. Today, Access Health is serving thousands across southern West Virginia. But what makes us different isn't just the care we provide, it's who provides it. Our team was born here, trained here, and lives here. This is what community looks like. This is Access Health, by the community, for the community, always.
Summer's here, the Jeep is ready, and at Northside Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat, you're getting the best prices in southern West Virginia. Top off, doors open, sunshine pouring in. This is what summer freedom feels like. Your next adventure starts here at Northside Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat in Summersville, where everybody rides. Because summer's better with a Jeep and the best deal around.
Take care of this by the end of the day.
Sure, I'll take care of that. Done.
It's that easy with compliance. Compliance, we've got your back office.